Hi guys, it's Rob here and I'm back with another tutorial. And this is a part of our Pokemon battle game in Unity and Maya series. So in this series of tutorials, I take you through how to make a Pokemon battle game from start to finish using Unity and Maya. Where we left off in our last Pikachu video, I had shown you a lot of techniques such as the target weld tool, the lattice deformer, etc. to make this Pikachu. But I had mentioned in the last video there were two key techniques that I did not show you, which I was going to show you now. And that was, one was our whole NURBS to polygons thing, where we create a curve and use it to make the mouth here. And the second technique I didn't show you that's really essential is texturing, namely applying multiple materials to one object. So, let's get started with the first of our objectives. I'm going to jump into our front view here by clicking on this little icon here that'll open up the 4 different viewports. Then clicking inside of this viewport to make it our active viewport. You'll see it's highlighted with the little white box. Hitting spacebar, and now that expands our viewport. And I'm just going to delete this little sphere that I was using to show you guys how to make the foot here. So now I'm zoomed in, and you'll see I have these curves here, and I have this circle, right? There's actually a circle, it's just in front view, so it looks like a line. And this is a curve. Right, so I'm actually going to show you how to make this from start to finish. I'm not going to cheese you guys here. I'll show you how to make this start to finish. I'll just drag these up here. Alright, so I want to make this mouth. So what I'm really thinking about here is what I want to do. Well, I want to use the curve tool, specifically the CV curve tool. And I'll lay down a couple of points here. And so I made a mistake, so I'll hit backspace there. And you'll notice that I'm not following it exactly, but I'm looking for a general shape, 80 to 90% accuracy here. We're looking for, the more accurate the better, but don't rack yourself too hard. Don't go crazy with perfection here. And now hit enter, and now your curve's formed. One quick thing I'm going to do, I'm actually going to right-click object mode, click this. You'll notice the pivot point isn't centered, so modify center pivot. We'll see we have that centered. So now we have this curve here. And I actually want to make a circle, so I'm actually going to jump out of this view. Yes, I am going to jump out of this view. I'm going to hit this perspective icon here. And I want a NURBS curve. NURBS circle. So I'm going to create NURBS primitive circle. You might be wondering, well, why do we need the circle? Well, we've defined the shape, right, of our mouth, but we have not yet defined the width, or the extrusion length of our mouth. So specifically, how big in terms of size, not in terms of length, but in terms of how big in terms of like dimension is this actually going to be? Well, if we scale down this circle here to like the size of like what we kind of want our mouth to be, so we'll scale this down here, this diameter, because the diameter, right, the size of that is going to control how this comes out. And now we're just going to sort of position this. I just want to position this the right way, just like kind of like that. So you'll see now we got that fit along our mouth nice there. And I want to jump back into my 4 viewports and go back to here. Okay. So I forget the order. I believe it's circle and then line. We're going to shift select to have both. And we're going to go to surfaces, and it should be extrude. And I'm going to go to the options here first. So you want the style to be tube. You want the result position to be at path. You want the pivot to be closest endpoint. Orientation to be path direction. Rotation and scale should be set to 0 and 1 respectively, but you shouldn't have to change that. Those, I believe, are defaults. Your curve range is complete. And your output geometry is NURBS. You could also change it to polygons, but I'm going to leave it for NURBS now, and then I'm going to show you how to convert the NURBS to the polygons. So sort of best of both worlds. Hit extrude, and you'll see how nice that came out as an extrusion. So we have this mouth here with this width of our circle. Now I want to show you that if I click this circle here and I rescale it, you'll notice that in real time it changed the size of our mouth. So these curves are really useful. That also means that it's not final as long as you still have those curves there. If you delete those curves, unfortunately, it's final with the exception of modifying the geometry the traditional way. I'm going to hit F here to frame our selection. Right click, and I want to, missed a step here. We actually want to convert this to polygons before we do anything else. So I'm actually going to go to, this is going to be modify, and I'm going to go to convert NURBS to polygons. And now what you'll see is that it didn't delete our NURBS mesh. It merely, it kept that, but it made another mesh, a polygon mesh. So we're going to look at the differences between the two really fast. So this right here, we'll see that this is our polygon mesh. You can see it's a little distorted. You know, we made it a little bit small, so when you do that conversion, you know, you have it, your faces really close together, things could get flattened out a little bit. But never mind that. We're gonna pull this guy off here. I want to take our polygon guy here, and I just want to move him. I'm actually gonna, if I could, just delete these guys here. Just delete our references. And now I'm gonna take this guy, and I'm gonna move him for Pikachu's mouth. Now I'm gonna frame my selection. Now I'm gonna orbit, and here, this is what I want to show you guys. So you see how this is a 4 quadrilateral, right? So we're gonna take this edge. We're gonna shift, double click an adjacent edge. I'm gonna do this one, if I could get it right. Yeah, so it's a little bit hard to get these edges when your stuff's so small. But once we double click that to get the full edge loop, we're gonna fill hole. And we'll do that on the other side as well. And now you got this nice little Pikachu mouth here. So that's basically how you could extrude curves to form surfaces, and then how you could convert those surfaces to use polygons. And the last technique that I want to show you guys in this video was texturing, right? Namely, how to texture using multiple textures on the same object, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Windows, Rendering Editors, and Hypershade. And here's Hypershade. And Hypershade has a bunch of these different presets. If yours doesn't look like this, just open up a bunch of these. Open up your, a bunch of these. I think the browser, property editor, material viewer, and create. You might even want to open bins. You know, I don't think we have the material viewer out right now, but we have like everything else out. So these are my materials. I suggest good naming, not leaving these as blends, because when we get to our Unity project, by me putting all of them, by importing all the Pokemon into one scene to show you for that first intro video, Maya automatically renamed all of them based on their specific material. So I didn't really have to worry too much. But you guys, unless you want to use that technique, just name your things like Pikachu underscore body, or Pikachu underscore yellow, Pikachu underscore black, or black shiny, Pikachu underscore black dull, you know, and get all your colors in there. So one way that I did this, I wanted to make Pikachu as realistic as possible. So one quick technique I could show you guys is, let's say we create a new material here. So I'm going to go through the whole process. So create this material. Okay, now drag your Hypershade guy down a little bit. Double click this color thing right here. Right, and this opens up, you see this Eyedropper Tool. If you note in any other program like Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop for example, Adobe Image Viewer or Image Editor, whatever it's called, all those image editing programs, so little eyedropper is your color selector tool. Click him. Don't click again, just click once. You'll notice that anywhere we go in this entire interface, we get the color of whatever we're hovering over. So we're basically just getting a pixel value at that pixel. I want to grab Pikachu's yellow, so I'm going to find an even yellow on Pikachu, not where a highlight or a shadow is, about here, and that's going to determine the color of my material. Now if I just X this out right here, my material goes away, so I'm going to Control Z that. Right? So the proper way to show that you're finished picking a color, so let's say we change this color or something, right? Change it back. Done. Right? You hit done, and that saves that. You'll notice that my material is too shiny right now. If I applied this to Pikachu really quick just to show you, note the shininess, right? So I'll hit Control Z just so that doesn't stay there. That's good. So what I did here, I'll take you through some of the settings. I'll show you how to apply multiple textures to the objects, and then after that, definitely have to cut off the video, and we're gonna go to our next Pokemon. And I'm gonna do a speed Pikachu video, not me speed modeling Pikachu, but where I just quickly talk about the techniques in like a 1 to 2 minute video. Just for those of you that don't want to sit through these like 10-20 minute videos, you know, if you're doing this from scratch, you should. If you're not a beginner and you're advanced, then you know that 2 minute video, I'll just tell you techniques I used, and then you can just jump in. So that's really where we're at with that. So color here. Transparency. The one time you have to worry about transparency, well, you could always worry about that in terms of how transparent your material is, but if you, for this color channel, if you plug in a Photoshop file, right? So if you don't choose file, if you choose PSD file, don't use a Photoshop file with the file node. Your stuff will start going all weird. But if you use PSD file, automatically the color and transparency channels become set to that attribute. You would just right-click on transparency and click break connection. Right now, since there's no file attached, it doesn't say break connection. But when you right-click on transparency, trust me, you'll have it there. if you have a file attached. That's just standard. You want to break that just because when you bring that PSD in, it locks those two channels in that. So you just want to be mindful of that and break the connection. Just on the transparency there, keep the color obviously when you plug that file in. But for those of you that don't know about UV mapping and texturing, don't worry about that. That's future tutorials. That's other material. But what I'm really worried about with the shiniest is the specular shading. So the specular color. So the higher we turn this, you'll notice on our little material guy up here, or up here, our color of our specularity here. I want to turn that down to almost dull, but there's a little bit of light shining off of it. Eccentricity. So eccentricity, right? How spread out is my color? Is my highlight actually, right? So, and then we have specular roll-off, which is how defined is it, right? So let's say we have a specular color of white, and we define this up here. You'll see it's like a very concentrated, right? But then as we drag this back, it becomes less concentrated, right? And if we turn our eccentricity up, you'll be able to see this very clearly illustrated, right? So you'll see almost nothing to everything. So really shiny up in that, up on this end here. So I'm just going to set these down to dull. And that's not a specific value. That's me just playing around with the values, seeing how light reflects off of it. Lighting is a whole nother tutorial. We'll get into that at some future point. But if you just have the default light here, one thing I would recommend, go on to lighting, choose two-sided lighting. It helps avoid some problems in the viewport where you might think you have your normals reversed, but it's really just you don't have two-sided lighting turned on. So now obviously we have that turned on. And is it default lights? Yeah, use default lighting. If we go to use all lights, then it would rely on the lights from our scene. You'll see it go dark because we don't have any lights in the scene. Use default lighting. Okay, so that's that. Now the last thing I want to show you is how to do add multiple textures to an object. So let's say I was texturing Pikachu here. You could add textures by selecting the faces. So I'll just select a few faces here. So I'll select these guys. And I want to add one of these materials. Just right click and add material to selection. And you'll see now Pikachu has this black material added to him. Now I'm going to Control Z that, because obviously I don't want that on my Pikachu. But anyway, so this, that's how you do it. You just select the faces, right click on in this material thing here, and in Hypershade, and assign material selection. One really cool trick that I picked up was if you right click on this material here and you hold it down, and you go to select objects with material, that's useful for selecting all the objects that have that material attached. So let's say we want to get this ambient, we want to get these two spheres, but we don't want to sit here and just click sphere, so it becomes tedious if we're selecting all these faces, right? We could use tricks like selecting edge loops and stuff, but it still gets monotonous, trust me. So, when you get into bigger projects. So what you want to do here is, let's say we want to select those cheeks, we'll just go to right click on there, select objects with material, and both those cheeks of Pikachu are now selected. So it's a very quick way to select all the objects with that material. Similarly, we could go to the yellow here and select objects with material. And now what you'll see is we select all those objects with that material. Right? And we also have these faces selected of this object. Right? Because there's one combined object with multiple materials attached to it. So guys, that about wraps up this tutorial. Stay tuned for my other videos. Please continue working. So please start working on Pikachu. Do a quick speed video where I just, for you advanced guys and girls, where you basically just get up to speed with that. So just a quick speed video where I'll just tell you, okay, these are the techniques used. This is what it looks like. Go get it. And then we'll go through some other Pokemon. I'll explain to you some specific techniques. Now that I showed you the techniques, I might not spend as much time just exactly doing it. So I'm trusting that you're gonna watch these Pikachu videos. But I will definitely go through for each Pokemon and tell you the techniques that I used. Thanks for watching, guys. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks, guys, and I'm looking forward to putting this together into a game with you guys. And this is going to be up for download on my website very soon, within the next few days. Thanks for watching. See you in the next tutorial.